Today is Wednesday, April 22nd. Welcome to this edition of Nevada County Now. At the time of filming, there are no new cases of COVID-19 to report. The total remains at 38 laboratory confirmed cases, 26 in eastern Nevada County and 12 in western Nevada County. For the most current information, visit mynevadacounty.com/coronavirus. Yesterday, the U.S. Senate unanimously approved a $484 billion in fresh relief for the U.S. economy. The House is expected to vote on Thursday on what would be the fourth coronavirus response law. Taken together, the four measures amount to $3 trillion in aid since last month. President Donald Trump urged Congress to quickly approve the measure, which mainly expands funding for loans to small businesses, leaving additional aid to state and local governments for a later bill. Locally, this could be a big help for many struggling small businesses. Banks and financial institutions have had to limit applications for loans due to the overwhelming demand. This new bill should help alleviate the backup. We'll update you on the vote in the House when it happens. Local farmers are one group of small businesses that have been hit hard by the current pandemic. Sierra Harvest, a local nonprofit dedicated to encouraging the local food movement, among other things, has some tips about how you can help. Pre-purchase your veggies. By signing up for a CSA or farm card, you are giving the farm the capital now to support them in sustaining the farm inputs until they are able to start selling the produce. Seek out local products at the grocery store. Look for labels when you are shopping at Briar Patch, SPD, Natural Selections, or California Organics, and preference buying from these farms. Support restaurants that are transparent about who they buy from. Many restaurants say they buy local and organic when possible. Tell institutions you want local products. If you buy school meals, meals at a senior home, or hospital meals, tell the head chef that you are interested in local. Help with farmer training. Support a farmer with a scholarship to attend a farm, business, or ag skills class through Sierra Harvest. And help Sierra Harvest identify viable farmland in Nevada County and match farmers to that land. If you have 5 acres or more of relatively flat, sunny land with water and would like to see a farmer farming it, let them know. Next week, I'll be talking with Rachel Berry, Sierra Harvest Engagement Director, to get more details on all their programs, so stay tuned for that, and visit their website, sierraharvest.org, for a list of local products that are still available. If you're getting bored at home and looking for a way to help your community while still respecting the stay-at-home orders, consider writing a letter or two to local hospice patients. Hospice of the Foothill is asking you to send letters or cards of hope to their patients. While you may not know them personally, they ask that you write as though you're addressing a friend. Begin your message with greetings or hello. Try to stay positive and avoid controversial topics like politics or religions. You can mail your letters to Hospice of the Foothill, Attention Volunteer Department, 11270 Rough and Ready Highway, Grass Valley, California, 95945. Today we're going to hear a bit more about fire prevention tactics from Dr. Kate Wilkin, specifically how to harden your home. Let's take a look.
So as a UC Cooperative Extension Forest and Fire Advisor, my goal is to extend the best available research to the people who are helping people prepare here in our region. And so I often work with the agencies and partners throughout town to help make sure that they're aware of the latest research that people have published and that they can incorporate that into their planning and preparedness. I know that when we think about fire in California, it can be really overwhelming. You can think, what can I do? I'm just one person. But what I can say is you can start at your own home, where you live with your family. And I tell people there's a lot of things you can do, but there's still going to be a chance that your home burns. You can dramatically reduce the chance of your home burning, but it will never be completely safe because we live in California. Fire is here before us and it'll be here after us as well. You can have an evacuation plan so that if there is a fire, you know how to get out and you know how to protect your family. The next step would be to preparing your home and the lands around it, so making sure that your home is fire resistant. Then working on the defensible space surrounding that. And once you kind of have your own personal things tackled, you can really start to engage in the broader community, and you can think about How can I work with my neighborhood so all of these people can achieve the same goals that I have, and together we'll be stronger. In California, we've been hearing about defensible space for quite a long time because we have a public resource code about it, California 4291. And when I think about 4291, I know that it was written many years ago, and since then we've had many unfortunate fires, and we've increased our knowledge about what actually improves home survival. And there's this new zone around a home, within 5 feet of a home actually, where University of California, the National Fire Protection Association, Firewise USA, and the Insurance Institute for Business and Home Safety are all recommending to have no combustible materials within 5 feet of a home, or low combustibility. And I know people will say, but Kate, I love my plants. And I have to tell them, I love plants too. I was a botanist. But I have to think about where I can put the plants that I love so that my home is safe and so that they're also safe. And so the message we're trying to tell people now is that from 0 to 5 feet of a house, you have no combustible objects. Or maybe low combustibility if you're really good at maintenance. I'm not, but maybe you are. So you could have a well-irrigated lawn that you mow regularly, or maybe a few annual plants with a rock mulch. And then out from there, from 5 feet to 30 feet, it's the lean, clean, and green zone. And in that area, you'll have beautiful plants, but they're going to be spaced really wide apart so that there's no continuous fuel leading towards your home. And you'll have beautiful hardscaping. I've seen flagstones and decomposed granite and tile work that you can use to kind of break up all of those fuels that are near your home. And then from 30 feet to 100 feet out, you'll have reduced fuel. So around my home, that means we have large ponderosa pine trees and cedar trees. But we've reduced the understory cover some, and we've really opened up the forest canopy in that area. So California Public Resource Code 4291, it has 2 zones, 0 to 30 feet, which is lean, clean, and green, and the 30 to 100 feet, which is reduced fuel. We know many homes burn because of embers getting into attics, but also because of embers that land at the base of a house. And your mulch, and your woody plants that are not well maintained, and your lawn that wasn't mowed that week. And when an ember lands really close to your house, maybe within 0 to 5 feet, and you get a small fire, that small fire can grow and it can catch your house on fire. And so the latest research and the latest recommendations at the national level and also for the University of California is to really focus on this new 0 to 5 foot no combustible to low combustible zone. So sometimes people think with defensible space, more is better. But what I can say is that more isn't always better. If I eat too much chocolate cake, I'm probably going to feel ill. And so when I think about defensible space and your home, I know that we really need to have the most intensity right around the home itself. You want your home to be fire resistant. You want to have low to no combustibility within 5 feet. From 5 to 30 feet, have a lean, clean, and green zone. And then from 30 to 100 feet, you have reduced fuels. And nowhere in there, except within 5 feet of a house, am I talking about bare mineral soil or rocks. Beyond that, you can enjoy the greenery of nature and flowers and trees, but you just want to be very careful about their spacing. I've heard some people say, I'm really afraid of fire. I'm going to have 500 feet of bare mineral soil. And I get worried because I think that's a lot of work. But I also know that doesn't necessarily protect them from fire. It protects them from one aspect of a fire, it protects them from a flame front moving past their house, but it doesn't protect them from the embers. It could still catch that house on fire. I also know that when we start to have 500 or more feet of defensible space, that sometimes that actually might negatively impact our natural resources. We need to be careful about how we manage our defensible space. Sometimes we live in these beautiful mixed conifer forests like around here in Nevada City, and reducing the fuels in those forests actually could be a type of restoration that could be good for them. But in other times, if you live maybe in a chaparral area, reducing those fuels for more than 100 feet could actually be detrimental to that plant community. And so we just need to be really mindful of how we use defensible space and knowing that we only really need about 100 feet for a home, unless you live on a very steep slope, or if there's very dense vegetation, you might want to extend it to 200 feet. So I always like to think that everyone is an expert in fire physics. It's not just people like myself who have their doctorates in it, because we've all roasted marshmallows around a campfire. So we all know how fire works. We know that if you take your marshmallow and you stick it directly into the center of that campfire, that it's going to catch fire. And that's how homes can get caught on fire as well, kind of that direct flame contact. So when I think about what makes a fire-resistant home, they often have, I think about maybe the top 5 things that you can do. You can have a roof that's resistant to fire, a deck that's resistant to fire, you can have defensible space, and you can work on your siding and your windows. But so when I think about a roof, you want to make sure that your roof is resistant to fire, and that's having a Class A roof. And that could be a shingle roof, it can be a metal roof, or a tile roof. And a lot of times I hear people say, I have a metal roof, I'm okay from fire. And we have to be really careful with those assumptions, because when I think about a fire-resistant home, it's always about the design, the materials, and the maintenance. And so metal and tile roofs, they often have these gaps on the edges. These little gaps that you need to plug up with some sort of filler, which I'm certain the building department can tell you what to use, and I can't. But what I can say is that little critters love to make nests there, whether they're a wasp or a bird or a small mammal like a mouse. It's the perfect size for a nest, which is unfortunate because then you have all these grasses and needles and leaves right on your wooden roof deck, underneath the concrete or the tile or the metal, and that actually is what often catches those types of roofs on fire. One of the other things every home needs is to make sure that they have attic and basement vents that can reduce the number of embers that come into that house. And that is currently regulated in the California Building Code Chapter 7A. But if you have an older home like myself, then it didn't apply when it was built, because that's a newer building code. And so I've gone back into my house. When we first moved in, we couldn't afford fancy new vents. And so we went to the hardware store and bought 1/8 inch screen, and we stapled that over all of our vents in our attic and our basement. Once we kind of settled, through the moving into a new place, we were able to afford new vents. And so we went to the California Building Code website, and we looked to see, what were the main companies they recommended and the style of vents. We decided on a vent that had an exterior baffling, and then a 1/8 inch screen that had intumescent paint. So I said a lot of things, so let me try to break that down just a little bit. So the reason we have attic vents is because they help your attic air circulate so that your home doesn't rot from the inside out. But in a fire, they actually serve 2 main purposes, these vents. All vents in your house can allow embers to go into your house. And then if your home is close enough to another structure or maybe some plants that catch fire, then those vents can also be a way that you can have direct flame going into your house. And so when I thought about what type of vent I really wanted on my house, I wanted a vent that reduced the amount of embers that could go in. That's why we have the exterior baffling, because as the air moves up and down to get through the vent, those metal slats actually help snuff out those embers. And then we have the 1/8 inch screen, because again, that helps reduce the amount of embers that are going into the attic. And then that screen has an intumescent paint. And what intumescent paint is, it has a chemical composition that swells when it's exposed to heat. So if something nearby is on fire, then that intumescent paint will swell shut and not allow anything else into the attic or crawl space. And I think, for most people, we're going to need vents that can do all of those things, not one or the other. The other thing that I would recommend is to have some plywood cutouts that you can put over the exterior of your vents before you evacuate if you have time. I know a lot of our evacuations in California are unfortunately becoming much shorter and shorter time frames before we have to leave. And so you have to be ready to leave without any of that. But if you have the time, it could be nice to put on. One question I'm often asked is, Kate, I really want vents, but I'm not sure if I can afford them, especially if you're on a fixed income. But we have a resource, the USDA Rural Development Loan Service actually will give loans out for home improvements and home renovations that include making your home resistant to fire. And so that can be one way. So these types of renovations, like vents, closing in your soffits, updating your deck, can be affordable for people who are here and living on a fixed income. The Insurance Institute for Business and Home Safety has a wildfire checklist. And you can Google that, the Insurance Institute for Business and Home Safety Wildfire Checklist. And it can go through, and it tells you every vent to look at, every window, every place where you should have put caulking in, or you need to put caulking in. And it can help walk you through that list of items to do. And it's an extensive list. there are these top 5 areas that you really need to work on as a resident of a fire zone. At the same time, there's areas that are beyond that we all should be working on still. Because fire is kind of like water. It's probably going to find a way in. So we need to be very careful and have well-maintained homes.
Great information, Dr. Wilkin. This was just a short clip combined from 2 very informative videos, one an interview and the other a presentation. Both are available in full on our YouTube page in the Are You Prepared playlist. We'll leave you today with a short video from Sierra Harvest with a look at another of their projects, the Gold Country Gleaning Program. Again, be sure to tune in next week for a more complete rundown of Sierra Harvest programs. Stay safe, take care of each other, and we'll see you tomorrow.
We just got back from a house down in Penn Valley. They had 2 huge apple trees. We gleaned 286 pounds.
We are at Interfaith Food Ministry. They serve 8,000 clients every single month, and every one of these families can come twice a month and they get a full shopping cart of groceries.
I've stood in those lines, and fresh fruit and vegetables especially are amazing. And it's been so much fun. I mean, it's just fun.
If you have fruit trees in your home, give Sierra Harvest a call and we will get the volunteers to come and glean for you on a day that works for you. If you want to be a gleaner and be a volunteer, there's also an online application.